This week on Christian World News, horrific revelations of grisly genocide. China's war on religion is wiping out millions of Muslim Uyghurs. Which people of faith will be next? Plus, America at a crisis point. Social, racial, and political arguments are tearing the country apart. What can heal these divisions? Meet a man who says it's revival or we die. And 12,000 extras representing all 50 states and 36 countries. The upcoming season of The Chosen is shaping up to be the biggest one yet. Welcome to Christian World News, everyone. I'm Wendy Griffith. The government of China knows that religious belief is the biggest threat to its grip on power. In our top story, CBN's Dale Hurd reports on China's campaign of repression in its war on people of faith.
These mugshots, taken from Chinese police files, show some of the millions of Uyghurs being held in at least 1,200 Chinese concentration camps. Their crimes? They may have had relatives in other countries, or they may have made the mistake of applying for a passport. They may have had more than 3 children. They might be considered too religious, or they've been declared untrustworthy. This has been happening for years in the western Chinese province of Xinjiang, and the world has done almost nothing to stop it. Tersine, a Uyghur, was imprisoned for visiting her family in nearby Kazakhstan.
Our cell was 4 square meters, and there were more than 20 people. And there was only one bucket to be used as a toilet. At night, they would take out some people, especially some young girls, for interrogation. And we could hear their screaming. Some of the girls would bleed very badly. One woman had bite marks all over her body. And sometimes they would die because of the bleeding.
Tersine was gang-raped by prison guards and tortured with electric shocks. Other inmates face forced sterilization, slave labor, and brainwashing. Prisoners are regularly killed so their organs can be harvested.
Everyone, literally every single prisoner, was subject to an organ examination. And after the examination, some people were put on a bus and taken somewhere else.
Those outside the camps live in an Orwellian world of constant surveillance. Authorities have placed QR codes on the outsides of homes that give them information about anyone living inside, and an app on their phone records everything they do. This photo shows the English translation of an app Chinese police use when they question someone. After the person's ID is entered, everything about them pops up on screen, including how much electricity they use. And then the app asks the officer if the person's reaction was normal or abnormal, and if the person requires further investigation. China is using every tool at its disposal in the war on faith. All faiths. Anything that could compete with allegiance to the communist state. China is also imprisoning huge numbers of Falun Gong members, a Buddhist sect, and house church Christians. Former President Trump's ambassador-at-large for international religious freedom, Sam Brownback.
Christians are arrested, pastors are put in jail, whole congregations are forced to go underground. The Uyghurs, even if you're not in the concentration camp, you got a camera for every other person that's there. You got a police station or kind of way station every 50 yards in the major cities. People are tracked constantly. They've taken genetic sampling of everybody. They've got facial recognition systems.
With a government mandate to break their lineage, break their roots, Beijing is using forced sterilization and forced marriages to bring an end to the Uyghurs as a people and a culture. The prime minister in exile of East Turkestan, what China now calls Xinjiang, is Salih Hudayar.
So the Chinese government essentially, aside from sterilizing our population, it wants to, breed us out, essentially. So they are forcing young Uyghur women to marry Han Chinese men. And if you refuse, then they're going to send you to a concentration camp and send everyone in your family into a concentration camp.
The man behind this repression is Chinese Politburo member Chen Guangguo, who was so successful in crushing resistance in Tibet that he was sent to Xinjiang to put in place a system to destroy Uyghur culture.
He's the architect. He designed and implemented the takedown of the Tibetan Buddhist system, and then got moved to do something similar to the Muslim population. They've taken this very seriously. They fear religion.
Under a program the Chinese government calls Pair Up and Become Family, more than 1 million Chinese party members have been assigned to move into the homes of Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities, spending weeks as uninvited guests monitoring their behavior, sometimes sharing their beds, and trying to convert them to communism. Meanwhile, the victims of Chinese repression feel abandoned by the United States and the world. A recent UN report on China's treatment of the Uyghurs refrained from using the term genocide, even though what China is doing fits the UN's own definition of genocide. Prime Minister Hu De'er suspects the UN caved to pressure from China. And after the White House claimed Joe Biden raised the issue of genocide with Chinese leader Xi Jinping recently, the Chinese government insisted that no, he did not. And sanctions by the U.S. and other Western nations have not worked.
You know, you could look at it and say, look, I'm a Christian. It really doesn't apply to me. It does apply to you. Because as soon as they go after one faith group, they're going to go after the next. The target is people of faith. The war is China's war on faith, and it's all faiths.
The American government knows exactly what China is doing to the Uyghurs. The world knows exactly what's happening, and it has done nothing.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. Coming up, how another great awakening could bring the healing our hurting country needs. See that story right after this. A new global survey reveals that most teens have a positive view of Jesus. The survey questioned about 25,000 teens aged 13 to 17 in 26 countries. The Barna Group reports about half of all teenagers across faith groups describe Jesus as loving. 46% believe he offers hope to people, and 43% believe he cares about them. The survey also showed only 23% believe Jesus makes a real difference in the world today. The same number believe they can have a personal relationship with him. Well, here in America, our country is reeling from political, racial, and social unrest. So what will heal the deep divisions in our nation? Christians believe the answer lies in the hope of a great awakening. In our next report, Charlene Aaron explores what it will take to bring spiritual renewal to America. And we want to know what you think is needed to bring revival to America. So during the story, scan the code you see at the bottom of the screen and send us a video with your thoughts. Here's Charlene.
From the nation's capital to the harvest fields of the Midwest, believers have been crying out to God for spiritual renewal in America. Some believe the nation sits on the brink of collapse, with the only hope being a visitation of God's power and presence.
Revival or we die. That's where you have to get. You have to get to that place where you can't live any longer without visitation. It could be personal. It could be personal revival where you know there must be a breakthrough.
What will heal the deep racial, social, and political divisions that are tearing us apart? In his new book, Revival or We Die, A Great Awakening is Our Only Hope, Dr. Michael Brown says revival is vital to seeing things change.
We're at that critical moment again. America's being torn apart by the seams, and we've seen there are no political solutions, there are no social solutions, and the church itself has become impotent. So we're at a crisis point in American history where without divine visitation, America as we know it could come to an end or could be so marred that the world our kids or grandkids grow up in will be very, very different.
Dr. Corney Becker, Dean of Regent University's School of Divinity, agrees, saying we've reached a time of spiritual reckoning.
But I believe America recognizes that politics cannot save her. Ideology cannot save her. Social change cannot save her. Only the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ.
A student of past revival movements, Becker believes in order to experience true spiritual renewal, the church must first prepare.
Revival throughout the history of the church is always a sovereign move of God. No man can, in essence, make it happen. It is supernatural. And so what we desperately need to do is to cry out to God. And that's what Psalms 85 says. Revive us, O Lord. And then secondly, to search our hearts, to allow the Holy Spirit to search our hearts.
In 1995, Brown helped lead the Brownsville Revival in Florida, which lasted 6 years. He says supernatural moves of God are unscripted and out of the norm.
When revival happens, it's not just a matter of one or two people getting excited or a crowd getting lifted up. Revival happens outside of church buildings. Some of the greatest testimonies we heard during the days of the Brownsville Revival were after people left, or when they got to their church service next Sunday, the fire of God would fall, and the fire of God would continue to burn for months and even for years.
Becker is hopeful that the nation is on the verge of something even bigger.
True revival happens in the streets, happens in the homes, and happens in the darkest places of society. Think of the most chaotic places in our world, the darkest places in our world. That's where the Spirit is hovering, waiting to recreate. It's not too late for America.
An impact he believes will be undeniable.
We will see monumental change, firstly in the church, but we will also see it within community. We will see families being restored. We will see crime go down. We will see a thirst and hunger for holiness within our world.
Signs, Brown says, are already taking place.
As I've been out ministering, just this year, as restrictions have lifted after COVID, I'm seeing God move in ways. I'm seeing hunger. I'm seeing people weeping in the presence of God. I'm seeing people set free and transformed. It's happening here and there. I believe it's going to be nationwide, and we could literally see the nation ablaze with revival fire.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Thanks, Charlene. Up next, we'll go behind the scenes to meet some of the new characters for the groundbreaking series, The Chosen. And they'll tell us why in season 3, the honeymoon is over. Stay tuned. Well, fans of the TV show The Chosen will be happy to hear that the much-anticipated season 3 will be available this December. The first 2 episodes, though, will be released in theaters in November, something the creators of the series have not done before. CBN's Ashley Key recently visited the set of The Chosen and has this look at what we can expect in season 3.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Key, and I am so excited to tell you that right behind me is one of the sets of my all-time favorite show called The Chosen. It's actually the first ever multi-season show about the life of Christ. It's also the highest crowd-funded media project of all time. I'm so excited to share with you guys some behind-the-scenes footage and some exciting conversations with actors, producers, and so much more. So come along with me. What are you most proud of in being a part of something like this?
With playing Thaddeus on The Chosen, it's really inspired me to be a better person to everybody, not just my family, my friends, people I haven't met.
The secret sauce of the show is the humanity of it and going, oh my goodness, that was me. I'm Mary Magdalene. I'm Simon Peter. I'm Andrew.
We have such a diverse cast from people, all backgrounds. And what does that do? That gives another way to relate as a human being.
Even on our staff, it is always peaceful. It is always symbiotic. It's always this ebb and flow that is so stunningly beautiful.
Jonathan is this sort of actor that you absolutely need for a character of Jesus. I still get chills in scenes where I'm like in the background and watching him interact with someone else. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, let's talk about season 3. We've all heard about the massive Feeding of the 5,000 event you guys filmed this summer, where you literally flew in over 12,000 extras over 4 days, fans of the show from 36 countries and all 50 states. What else can we be looking forward to in the exciting new season?
Stakes are a lot higher this season.
Yeah.
So the disciples start dealing with the obstacles that come with following Jesus.
The honeymoon's over, okay?
I love that, yeah.
So it's like,
it's real.
Now We have to face the very human flaws we have.
We're diving in, and there is going to be a lot more turmoil. There's going to be some loneliness.
What do we do when you're angry with God?
Wow. Yeah.
What do you do when that anger is so real and so alive that you want nothing to do with him? How does he respond to that anger? And so we journey that really profoundly in season 3.
You know, they're being asked to go out in groups of 2 to heal people. And little James is, you know, sitting there like, well, I haven't been healed yet, and you're wanting me to heal people now.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a really interesting journey to see where little James ends up.
There are new characters in this season I think folks are going to be really, really excited about.
We take some time to introduce you to Lazarus and Jesus' relationship with him. Giving Jesus a friend that existed before he called the disciples is just a really cool thing to explore.
Judas has entered the scene.
Yes.
What's it like having him a part of the crew now from the storyline, but then also working with the actor Luke?
Luke is one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Yeah.
He's hilarious, too.
Everyone that comes onto the show, they immediately are part of the family, which is kind of a testament to the whole cast and crew. Everyone on The Chosen is so warm and welcoming. So he fit in right away. But in terms of his character, people immediately are going to feel a connection to him and care for him.
Judas would have been a character that the other disciples didn't know was a betrayer. He would have been likable. Judas didn't come in going, all right, I'm going to get in among the disciples and fool everybody, and then I'm going to betray him. And so in some ways it's intimidating, in other ways it's really fun. So in the past, a lot of Bible projects sometimes skip over some of the problems that we face, and we just like to get to the part where Jesus saves everything. Well, this season, if you're someone who is struggling and you can't seem to be getting answers, you can't seem to be getting relief, and you wonder, why does everyone else on social media seem to be getting relief and answers and comfort when I'm not? We dive deep into that in season 3. Just because people were following Jesus and were with him all the time doesn't mean that their lives got better. And what does that look like when your questions aren't getting answered? And season 3 is really, I believe, going to be a healing opportunity for you if you watch the entire season.
Well, ticket sales for The Chosen Season 3 theatrical release will be available for purchase Tuesday, October 25th. And for more information on how you can buy tickets, just go to cbnnews.com for a link. The first 2 episodes will premiere in theaters nationwide on November 18th. We'll be back right after this. This month, Christians and Jews worldwide joined together to follow a biblical command. As Chris Mitchell reports, it's all about praying for Jerusalem.
Shalom and welcome everybody to Jerusalem, Israel.
This celebration marks the latest International Day of Prayer for the Peace of Jerusalem. Since 2004, this event has joined millions of Christians and Jews around the world to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
To fulfill the biblical mandate of Psalm 122:6, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, recognizing that peace in Jerusalem signifies peace for the world. And so the Day of Prayer gathers and empowers Christians around the world to stand in alliance with that promise of God in Psalm 122:6.
Bishop Robert Stearns helped start this effort and says Jerusalem is central to God's plan for the world.
Jerusalem is a plumb line. Jerusalem is a place of covenantal alignment. As goes Jerusalem, as goes Israel, so goes much of our world. And so when we focus in this moment that is both filled with difficulty and promise, let's look at this. We have increased negative attacking rhetoric from Iran, from Syria. We've got all kinds of problems there. But through the Abraham Accords, we have amazing new opportunities for peace. So we have to pray that humanity moves in the direction of peace that has been promised to this land and to this region.
The day brings Jews and Christians together.
The International Day for Prayer for the Peace of Jerusalem is a very important day in the calendar. It codifies the blessing and command to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. What Eagles Wings has done by adding another holiday into the Christian calendar is really unbelievable. And here in Jerusalem, we celebrate it together with our Christian brothers.
Stern says a younger generation is catching the vision of the importance to pray for Jerusalem.
Being a younger man myself, I'm just excited to help inspire others to come and see what is happening here in Israel, to not only come and view it, but take an active role in it. We're here to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We want to loudly and proudly tell the world that we want to stand with Israel. We want to stand with God in seeing the peace come about here in the land.
It's important that the church and the nations wake up to the fact that God called them in the scriptures to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. He didn't say that about any other city.
Prayer leader Rick Riding says, given these perilous times, it's important to stand with Israel.
It's always intense here, but right now with the threats, very existential threats coming from Iran, and the relationships that seem to be developing more strongly between Iran and Russia, there's a real serious need for prayer for the peace of Jerusalem and of Israel.
Riding says this also sends a strong message to the Jewish people that they are not alone.
I was just talking to a Jewish man here, and he said, I had no idea there were 150 million Christians in China and that many of them are praying for Israel. This is phenomenal. And so it also is helping the people of Israel to realize when they feel so rejected in the media that there are people who love them and stand with them. And it really gives a lot of courage to the people of Israel to hear about this prayer from all over the world for them.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Day of Prayer for the Peace of Jerusalem.
Amen. Thank you so much, Chris. Well, that's going to do it for us. Until next week, goodbye and God bless you.